I just want to take a moment to clarify that the kind of healing that I am talking about here is not the physical healing from an injury or illness as such, but rather the healing of your heart from any past hurt. You know, there are so many things that can hurt us in life. Changing friendships, job loss, financial hardship, serious illness, relationship breakup, including divorce, physical and or mental abuse, violence, natural disasters, the death of a loved one, and so much more. In fact, very few of us go through life unscathed. Most of us have had past experiences with people or situations which have left a permanent scar on us, and some more so than others. And this is simply the dynamic nature of life itself. There are always bumps in the road, and all of us have to go through things that we'd often prefer not to at some point. And in this way, everyone is fighting their own battle, a battle that we often know nothing about. Regardless of what has caused us to feel hurt, if we don't fully heal from these things, however, then we can become stuck in life. We can feel as if our life is not going anywhere or improving, and this makes it difficult for us to move forward. This is often because when we are hurt, a common first response is to shut down or close our heart off to further pain. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, shutting down is a natural, protective response that occurs to keep us safe by distancing us from further harm. It also allows us time to regain a sense of stability and security so we can process the hurt and then begin moving on again. However, what too often ends up happening is that we don't heal, and as a result, stay shut down for far too long. In doing so, we can stop engaging in and shut life out, which prevents us from living our life to the full. In fact, almost everything which we want in life but don't already have is that way because we have subconsciously shut it out and not invited it in, not because the universe or life isn't providing it for us. It's also important that we heal from these things because remaining wounded can really affect our mood, motivation, and general outlook towards life. Essentially, not processing and healing our hurts detracts from our ability to live in the present moment. You know, whether it's anger, injustice, disappointment, sadness, resentment, or anything else. Feeling any one of these emotions can make us anxious, depressed, and even increasingly pessimistic about life. Obviously, this reactivity doesn't only affect ourselves, but also has a negative flow-on effect towards our relationships with others, including family and friends. Sweeping our hurts under the carpet doesn't make it go away. And so what often happens is that these trapped emotions become lodged inside of our body's cells as distorted memories. And not only can this subconsciously and negatively affect everything that we think, say, and do, but it can also lead to the manifestation of physical illness within the body itself. Also, in order to help us to better cope with reality, we can develop addictions such as eating, drinking, smoking, etc., all of which can further detract from our health and well-being. However, despite the importance of healing from our past hurts, most of us are in fact walking around broken. Sometimes it's just a hairline fracture, other times it's a full crack. And the sad thing is that most of us aren't even aware that we are broken. Now, I don't say broken from a judgmental way, but rather from the perspective that most of us need to heal in some capacity, but we very seldom do. For most of us, sitting with our emotions and really processing whatever it is that we are feeling can be hard. And so we just don't do it. And I get that soul work is never easy. It's not supposed to be. This is why we have entire professions largely dedicated towards helping people to heal. Dedicated psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, and countless other healing modalities and professionals. Many of us also have a she'll be right mate attitude, and as a result often end up just getting on with life instead of giving ourselves the time required to properly grieve and heal. And especially so if we are busy, or because we think that a situation hasn't really affected us as much as it sometimes has. Whatever the reason, letting go of anything which no longer serves us, emotional baggage, by healing our heart of past hurts is vital if we are to feel lighter and have more peace in our life. And so the message is that if you don't like what you're feeling, then do some healing. And this starts with first becoming aware that you may need healing. In fact, the moment you become aware that you may actually need healing is the same moment that healing begins to take place. It's also essential to believe that you can heal yourself. Now, this can be really hard if you have been through some personal tragedy that has caused you lots of pain. You know, it can be really easy to give up on healing yourself before you begin trying. Depending upon the situation, some of us can feel a sense of guilt in healing and moving on with our lives, which can manifest in the belief that we cannot heal. So this is something to watch out for. At the end of the day, you have to want to heal, otherwise it just won't happen. Next, it's important to realize that you can't outsource your healing. And I say this because so often these days we outsource so many aspects of our life. Whether it's hiring someone to do our ironing, or a gardener to cut our lawns, or a physiotherapist to fix our sore knee. Unfortunately, healing our heart is not something we can outsource. And don't get me wrong here, there are others who can help you, and you should by all means seek their assistance. But at the same time, just know that healing is something that you need to do yourself too. By being proactive and by taking responsibility for your own actions, you become your own healer. And this makes all of the difference in the long run. The next step is to identify what you need to heal from. You can do this by taking the time to write down anything that you have been hurt by in your life thus far. Some of these things may be obvious and some are not so obvious simply because they may have happened so long ago. For example, childhood trauma. And that's okay, just try your best. Once you have identified these things, then I'd like you to dig a little deeper on each of these, because in order to heal, it's essential that you gain understanding and grow from whatever has happened. And you can do this by asking yourself questions such as, why did I get hurt? And have I accepted what happened, or am I still resisting it? And if I haven't accepted what happened, then what do I need to do to free myself of the pain of the past? And just a little tip here, this could include forgiving yourself or someone else, or having a chat with someone, or writing a letter, etc., etc. Also, what did I learn from this event, and how did I grow as a person? And what has going through this event or situation made possible for me today? For example, Losing your business has allowed you to transition into an even more rewarding career, one that you never thought was possible. In addition to doing this reflection, I would also strongly encourage you to keep a journal too. Journaling can help you to not only gain greater insight into who you are and what makes you tick, but also to help you to process emotions, heal past wounds, and make forward progress with your life. Even if it's just once a week, to simply sit quietly with your thoughts and write whatever you feel necessary. Also, pay attention to and try to notice your habits and patterns. And this is important because most often than not, we find that if we are yet to heal something in our life, then we may continue to attract the same recurring scenarios and patterns of behavior. Whether it's attracting the same abusive partners over and over again or anything else, some of which can persist for a lifetime until the original hurt that is causing the behavior is healed. Okay, so my next tip is to open your heart again. I mentioned how it's easy to shut down after you've been hurt. And an area in which I especially see this in my coaching is in finding love. As the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. Firstly, what I will say to that is that if you have made a decision that you are not going to use your heart, then it doesn't matter if it gets broken. You should take a chance at finding love again. And secondly, in order to fully heal, we have to open up and invite life in. Whether it's finding love again, despite having your heart broken last time, building that business back up from bankruptcy or anything else, we have to gently ease the constriction, pick up the pieces and start growing again in every way. We have to start engaging in life again. Sure, opening our heart again can be challenging, but it's essential if we are to engage in fully healing ourselves and live our life to the full. Okay, moving on. My next tip is to stop thinking that things should have happened a certain way. I mean, think about it, right? The only problem with life is that it's not happening the way you think it should happen. Life is such that there are always bumps in the road and no one can ever predict what will happen next. And let's face it, life can be hard. It can be unfair and it won't always end in a fairy tale ending. And this is really important because if you remain set in your beliefs that life should only happen the way that you want it to, then when it doesn't go your way, it becomes difficult to heal because it means that you are unwilling to accept what has or even what hasn't happened to you. The good news is that you have free will, meaning that at any moment you have the choice and the power to change anything in your life moving forward. But in order to reclaim this power, you must first accept what has happened. Begin to heal and move on with your life. Next, realize that it does take time. Sometimes we can get over things quickly in life, but more often than not, healing does take time. Time to reflect on the difficult experience. Time to gain further insight and time to move on. That is, we often go through different stages of the healing process. For example, most people in relation to grief go through a cycle of denial, and then anger, and then bargaining, and then depression before finally moving on to acceptance. And so for many, healing is a lifelong process, And sometimes the trauma experienced can be so great that you won't heal fully in this lifetime, in which case you just learn to live with it and do the best you can. If you can relate to this, then the key is not to let your pain become a reason to stop engaging in life, which is easier said than done. But you can't give up. Instead, you need to keep showing up for yourself, for your family, and for your friends, because they need you. So never ever give up on the healing process, and never give up on life itself, because you only get one go at it. Remember, everything is just experience. Next, also remember that if you need help with healing, then be sure to seek assistance. Seeking counseling even once per week can often help, because sometimes all you need is someone to really listen to you and ask you the right questions. And depending upon what you're trying to heal, there are so many different modalities and gifted practitioners or people who can help you on your healing journey. And this includes psychologists, psychiatrists, hypnotherapists, mindfulness teachers, yoga therapists, shamanic healers, psychic mediums, Reiki masters, kinesiologists, and many more. Some people even gain tremendous healing using the power of plants, such as ayahuasca and psilocybin. The key to selecting the right healing modality and/or practitioner is to go with what you are attracted to, which you can do by listening to your intuition. If you feel it might help, then try it. Also, be sure to look after yourself too. Simple things like getting sufficient sleep, doing regular exercise and eating well all play an important part in helping you to have a strong mind and body, which are essential to healing. Look, at the end of the day, healing can be difficult, but by doing the inner work, eventually, in time, you will heal most of your wounds, and in doing so, have more peace in your life. And this is essential if you want to live your healthiest and happiest life. So, are you carrying any emotional baggage in the way of unhealed hurts from your past that are still causing some level of emotional distress today? Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to learn more about the other essential attributes of staying in your best shape. And until next time, watch what you chew, do what you need to do, and always live true.